people to work with us to achieve these dreams. So if you're achieving your dream alone, just know you need to re-strategize and change something and get people behind you to help you to achieve this dream. And this dream should be big enough that it's impactful to the community and to other people. So these people who help us, these employees, are actually our greatest assets in business. If you have the right workforce, the right people with you, there's nothing you can't achieve. But the opposite is also true. If you don't have the right people in your team, you can work all day, invest all the money you want, but the business will not grow. So that is why today's topic is very, very important, so that we know how best to leverage on our teams so that we can grow these businesses, we can grow these companies beyond what we see, beyond boundaries. These days we're in a glass economy. You're not limited by boundaries or anything. You can sell to Kampala, to Gulu, to Kenya, wherever, to DRC. You can send your products anywhere. But you will need teams, you'll need people in place to ensure that this is happening. In this era we are living on, it's a gig economy, members. A lot of things are dynamic, are changing. COVID came, the workforce dynamics are different. People are working online, people don't need to go to office. But how do you make sure that you get your people to be as productive as they can be? How do you make sure they are actually hitting the goals that you set for them and for the business? I like this quote from Richard Branson. It says, train your people well enough, train your people well enough so that they can live. They can live, and wherever they go, they will thrive because of that very good training you've given them. But above all, treat them well enough so that they don't want to leave. Do you understand that that dynamic there? They are trained well enough that they can even be employed anywhere across, but they prefer to stay with you because of how good you treat them. So let's pay attention to that. Much as you invest in them and train them and expose them to all these things, it's important to treat your employees decently and treat them very well, that they actually grow the passion for this business, to see it to the best of its abilities, that they don't even want to leave. They marry with the goal and they want to drive this company forward. Yeah. So today we have our guest speaker. He's an HR expert. It's called Mr. Titus Ochieng. Mr. Titus Ochieng is a seasoned HR expert. He's the lead at Cabin Uganda. For those who don't know Cabin Uganda is a training and consultancy organization. Mr. Titus holds over 20 years, guys, 20 years and above of experience in human resources, social behavior training. He has done mindset change training, organizational development, and the like. He also specializes in behavior-based training, capacity building, employing gender-sensitive approaches. These days, we are keen on gender. You have to be particular about certain things in the workspace. And all this fosters resilience and sustainable growth in those companies and businesses that he supports. Mr. Titus also has an expertise in HR management, organizational development. He has empowered over 10,000 professionals and 80 companies so far. In just 9 years, he has impacted over 10,000 professionals and 80 companies across, stretching from NGOs to academia, to government, to private businesses like yours. Yes, he's renowned for his excellent communication If you talk to Titus, you're going to talk to him today, you will tell me at the end of the session. He's very clear in his communication, and he also trains us on how to communicate clearly so that you get the best results from your people. He's also exceptional in his analytical skills and human resource management. He serves as a board of advisor in different organizations where he's driving impactful change in those organizations. We are so honored to have him share with us today his wealth of knowledge and expertise, especially in this human resource components that we want to discuss today. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. Titus Ochieng to lead us today on how we can motivate and retain our employees. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria. Can you hear and see me?
We can see you. We just need your volume to go up a little bit more.
Okay. Hope I can get that.
Maybe you can say something, and that is better. That is better, I think. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I'll keep the video on briefly and then we'll turn to a session to present. Thank you for the kind introductions and welcome all to our conversation today. I like to reflect on the calendar I have before me. You can read that, just let me know. Can you see that?
Today is we can see February 13th. Push it up a bit. Yeah, right there.
Right.
Kind words are like the seats in an airplane. You'll still get to your destination without them, but the journey is a whole lot more comfortable with them.
Thank you. And such a good coincidence that on this day we are reflecting on those kind words as we welcome you and thank you for investing your time in this session with us. So I'll get right into our discussion and I invite you to interrupt me as we go along. So I'll mute the camera a little bit and then share the presentation and we get going. Right, so our masterclass this morning is about unlocking the secrets of employee motivation, retention, and our conversations need to build on that to help us support you grow the businesses, but work with that important component of people, managing people and dealing with people. If you can hear me or if my volume drops or if anything, any glitches, feel free to interrupt me. But I wanted just to start the discussion or the session with a few perspectives or clarifications about what we face. There's usually a problem, there's a challenge and a proposed solution. And the problem we tend to find is that many times getting the most out of people at the workplace for fuller productivity continues to disturb many businesses, large and small. The challenge they face is gaining and sustaining motivated teams through a practice called involved recognition. And I'll dive into that a little bit further. And the solution today from our session, our masterclass, is to take a deeper look into what drives human behavior. What is that? And what are the practical ways in which we can improve retention? Retention being about how we keep our good people, and we do that through involved recognition. So this session is about that problem, the challenge you face in your businesses, business leaders, business owners, employees, and leaders in your own right. And the solution we like to take you through is that deeper approach into human behavior. And it flows directly into the season. What is it about people? But this session has outcomes and we like to walk through together this way. we like to discuss and identify the nature or a business case for human motivation. So what is human motivation and why does it make a business sense to attend this session? How will this session help you make more money and grow the business further? So there will be a business case and we'll share with you that after discussing the nature, human motivation. We also like to explore a new concept called fragility at the workplace. And it's a result of from the word fragile. We've seen what COVID has done to many businesses and ideas, and we are fragile like a glass. And we want to explore that element of what is it at the workplace, which is very fragile, that today you have it and tomorrow it's not in your hands. So it's broken like a glass. Then we shall also help you work with anti-fragility. So from the word fragile, how do we turn the workplace to be anti-fragile? So non-fragile, non-breakable, in ways in which you motivate, recognize, and retain your talent. Because this is an important element in a world where talent flight is on the increase. And people will say, I can move to the next employer if what you offer doesn't work for me. Or if you don't treat me nice, I move on. Or the next door will give me a better offer and I move from one company to the other. But how do we embed this element of anti-fragility? And we want to apply that together. Then in our discussion, we like to explore the core elements of recognition that works. We will be diving into the concept of recognition and helping you tease out or be aware that we can't tell everybody you've done a good job. And that's not exactly what they want. Okay, good job today. Tomorrow when I do a good job, will you tell me good job again? So people want a new way, a variety of ways of saying good job. And how do we do that and make the recognition have for our people work for us? Then in our conversation, we like to go into some elements of human nature, and there are 4 chemicals which are within the body and how we can steer them. How can we awaken those chemicals to make people be willing to do that which we hire them to do? And those 4 chemicals will be explored and see how we can tap into human nature at the workplace. We'll also help you make involved recognition work for your team. And will hopefully help you create a culture of employee retention at your workplace. And this whole conversation should end into a culture shift where we look at people as our greatest asset. And then finally, we hope we can share with you a plan of action. We can share with you praise that inspires and rewards that retain, and see where we take this from here. So this is about our session today. And in the next hour and a half, I'll be excited to dive deep in each of these topics and elements. I'll be happy for you to interrupt me, find it within your conversation to unmute because there's so much to unpack. And I'm happy to get started right now if there are no questions. If there are questions or comments, if there are an expectation I would want to make with you, kindly jump in and share. Is this what you're expecting? Especially for those who say they want to learn something new. I'm happy to hear from anyone who can unmute and share. Are we good to go? Give me some clues. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So I'll proceed and wait for your interruptions as and how this unfolds. And we like to start with the first element, which is motivation. And just within a short context, when people say motivate your team members, we use this to drive our attention that motivation is both external and internal. And these are the internal and external aspects which drive human endeavor or human behavior. So we need to remember motivation can be within the individual, they have drive within themselves, or it can be outside source where somebody is given reward or praised or commended or promoted or given a break from work, or so many ways to motivate. But what we need to remember is that when we say motivation, we are, for purposes of our conversation, addressing the internal and external drivers of human endeavor especially at the workplace. And most times, most people would want to look at it as one way, but motivation is a two-way street. So what is the business case for motivation? When we motivate people, we get improved quality, we get improved efficiency, we get improved speed of execution, and our costs drop to the extent that what the experts suggest is that when motivation builds trust, and that's the lubrication which makes it possible for organizations to work or businesses to work. So it's important that motivation be high on your agenda, because we've seen crucial conversations collapse where people say, I don't like the way you talked to me, and they don't feel motivated, they don't feel respected, and they cannot bring efficiency, speed, or reduce costs. So the business case for motivation is that we need to bring motivation to the table and keep checking in and say, how are our people? Are they motivated? And does that motivation work for them? Now, on keeping good people, Roger Hammond, famous writer, says that employee retention means that we are sensitive to the needs and clearly demonstrate the strategies in 5 families. And these 5 families are the ways in which we could motivate people. So one of them asks the environment question, and it asks, how does it feel to work here? So if I said, Philomena, hello, I come to your business and ask your people, how does it feel to work here? What will they tell us? And that would be a clue that is the environment offering us favorable opportunity to bring our best. The second one is relationship. And Roger Hammond's submissions on relationships suggest that there are critical linkages to our customer which go beyond the workplace. And when we see that those relationships matter, we begin to ask the question, what are we doing to fertilize, to grow, to brew those relationships, both for the present and for the future?
Joy, kindly mute yourself, Joy. Or Sozi, help me unmute her, please.
Thank you.
Titus, you can proceed.
Right, thank you. So the third element of the big 5 is support. And we ask, what support do we offer to secure long-term commitment of our people? This support can be broad, can be specific, but those are perspectives which anybody in managing people needs to ask and answer that question. And the fourth element is employee growth. And we say what opportunities exist and can be demonstrated, that somebody came in at this caliber and they grew over time. So we say that that's the reason they stayed. And the final one, which most people want to put first, is compensation. And we check whether our pay is at market rate or industry rate. And market rate might mean when we walk to the marketplace, we allow people leave because the market offers better. Within our industry, maybe we are in the industry of creation, or we are in the industry of manufacturing, or we're in the food industry. What does our food industry pay like? And when we find a balance between those big 5 elements, Roger Hammond would say we are able to keep our good people. Because what he doesn't say immediately is that the price of a bad hire is 360% of their pay. So if somebody is paid 1 million shillings a month, then if we selected the wrong person, we are losing 360 million. And that is how sad it is. So we need to be mindful that when we have good people, retaining them and keeping them becomes our business and the core business of that. So what are the elements of recognition? Earlier we said...
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, please. Sure.
There is a question here in the chat.
Sure.
Doesn't our toxic work culture override motivation?
The answer is yes and no. Yes, if we allow it, and no, if we counter it. And in my final slide on the presentation, the question can hold on. I will be able to answer, how do we create a culture that is not just about saying how the status quo is, how things are, but how do we create a culture of respectful, involved recognition and engagement so that we manage out toxicity? Part of the essential tidbits which I would be happy to share right now would be that whatever we are discussing is all about people. And when it comes to toxic behavior, everyone is held to the same standard. And that should be what we should do. The moment there is toxic behavior and it's tolerated from one, then it will be tolerated from anyone or from everyone. And it's important that people are held to the same standard. For instance, if you walked into your office and say, in our office, we don't use the N word or we don't use the F word, and it's the standard, then it won't happen. But if somebody is allowed to use the N word and we say, please forgive them because they were upset or angry, then we are watering that which we don't like. And it would be great to join me and hold with me until the second last slide of my conversation, where we shall be saying, what is it about the culture at the workplace which we can use to grow and make sure it's easy for others to fit in and survive and succeed? I hope I've answered that question, Susan.
Yes, you have.
Right. Is there another question?
And no, there's a suggestion in the chat that we hold on to our questions until the end of the presentation.
We would keep going with some. Maybe when I ask that we hold on, I know they're going to be answered, but maybe we would keep going. We could keep going so that we keep the conversation going and it's not a one-way discussion. I'd be happy to have a chat as we go along, if you don't mind about that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So we asked the question and moving on, what are these core elements of recognition? What are they? How do we go away from telling everybody, this is a good dog, this is a good staff, this is a good cat, this is a good, oh, this is a good car, this is a good, how do we go beyond that ordinary recognition and pick the elements of recognition in daily doses which make recognition real and tangible? The first one is we need it personalized, meaning that let's make it meaningful, that each person can feel that, okay, they recognize me personally, not you guys are doing well, you've done a good job. We need to recognize people in ways they value the most. And involved recognition means that we don't get medals and hang them on the dog's neck and say we have recognized our people. The dog doesn't need a medal, it would have a bone before a medal. But we give them things which they value. I know of an organization which took staff for a holiday retreat to the Serena, Nairobi. And they flew staff and said, we're going for a retreat, and that retreat should serve as a motivation. But when we walked in, one of the staff asked, so how does sleeping on this nice bed in the Serena hotel in Nairobi help me with my rent next month? And it struck a chord. You know what that means? You slept in a $500 bed a night. Not nice. Okay, very nice, but not sweet. So that personalized or meaningful way of recognizing people might help. We need to speak their language in terms of how we recognize them. Now, the other one is impactful. Impactful recognition or involved recognition means that we link it to the team or company goals. We can't say that people are doing well because they come to office early, because coming to office early might be the first step into closing a lead. We need to show how their work makes a difference. We need to tell them that we are giving you this curtain check because of how you have retained customers.
Judy, can you mute?
Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you. So impactful recognition helps us to link the recognition, the company goal, and show that people's work actually made a difference. And the third element is we need to make it either public or private, and we need to choose this. There are times when some of us or some of our employees are a bit private people. So we tend to ask, should we say this in public or do we say it in private? We could recognize somebody in private and have a one-on-one conversation and say, thank you for holding the business together while I was on leave. Or you might come to a meeting and say, guys, I want us to clap for so-and-so because of what they did. But we need to match that to the preference of the individual. Some people don't like the public display. Others like a private one-on-one, and they go home and say, can you imagine my boss told me this today? They've been seeing that I'm hard working, and that is enough fuel to get them to work for the whole year. And the fourth element of involved recognition is to make this recognition frequent. There is a lot of pain and stress at work, and frequent recognition helps us to exercise, helps us to have laughter, and we can use chemicals. This is something which works in many workplaces, like dark chocolate. We could use dark chocolate in the workplace to make our recognition frequent, and it changes the mood. It's a lifter, a mood lifter. And when we do this, we'll be able to work with the element of involved recognition and move away from saying people are just here to make money from us and go home. So we've summed up 4 big elements of involved recognition. And 1 is personalized, 2, impactful, 3 is either public or private, depending on what works, and 4, it is frequent. If there are no questions on that, I'd be happy to give you some secrets. This session is about secrets of recognition. So from the word recognize, recognition needs to be real, be genuine. Say, I am personally grateful for your involvement in growing our sales. Be genuine and show how the sales grew. In fact, when you came last month, we were down at 20%, we have grown to 40%. This couldn't have been without your involvement in growing our customer numbers. So be very genuine. Make sure the recognition empowers. We need to encourage peer recognition. Ask others to recognize others at work. Third, we need to celebrate. Make it a memorable moment. Say, let's stand and clap for those who have done it. Or let us take a group photo, or cut the cake, or do something. Make it memorable. That have a plaque, hand somebody a medal or something that they remember that I was given a medal for best employee. I was given a plaque. I was given a certificate. Then we need to make it open. Use formal and informal methods. Open meaning if somebody has earned it. We're getting some feedback.
So you just kindly mute anyone since you're host. Sometimes we don't know that we are hearing them.
Okay. So the other one we said is make it open, where we use
the whole professional like me.
Vera, please mute. Susie, could you mute her, please?
That is actually you what? It's a shop or so. Trading center.
Vera, do you please mute?
Right, can we proceed? So the other one we said recognition requires that we be grateful, show true appreciation. The G is for grateful. True appreciation means that we need to attribute. Attribution means that we can say thank you for cleaning the house or for cleaning the office desk when the office desk was cleaned by somebody. We need to have noticed. We need to notice that we are not overlooking small wins. We need it immediate. Don't wait and say, I want to recognize you at the end of your staff meeting. For all the times you have opened the office early, it's a bit not prompt. Then we need to zero in and be specific about achievement. What are those specific things which the person did, which brought about those achievements? And then we need to make it equal. But at all levels, everybody has done something. So at all levels, how do we recognize from the low end or lowest side of the staff up to the topmost, if it's the CEO. And when we are equal with our recognition, then it creates a culture, it creates an atmosphere which is productive. There was a comment in the chat there, Sozi. Would you mind reading it to us?
All right. Joy says, wow, this is a lot of work which requires an independent department. How to start apps juggling all department scope?
Okay. So many times when you think motivation is an independent department, it's like customer care. Usually, because the number one customer is yourself, then the idea of the workplace culture, which we are driving toward, means that everybody needs to be able to clock in and check in and say, can we recognize people for the good that they are doing? It means that we move away from a culture where we are catching people out to a culture where we are catching them in. The culture where we are catching people out is a fault-finding culture. It is toxic. It comes off like, I'm waiting to see who is arriving late because I'm the one who arrived early, and we are scoring latecomers. It comes from the old way of in school where they capture the names of the noisemakers, not of the class, not the names of those who have been quiet. So the noisemakers are taken for punishment, and then those who have been quiet are not recognized for being quiet. So it requires a whole cultural shift, and you can't make a department for human resources and recognition or customer care. It becomes everybody's job, and we need to grow toward that, especially with the teams in which we work. I wanted to explore the element of fragility now. That how is the workplace? And this fragility is something we are constantly seeing, where we find the toxicity. People complain more than deliver. We have a tendency for people to say what the problem is more than deliver the solution. And this is a sign that people are fragile. The other one is that people are looking for free offers. They come to work and have lunch, and that's the only meal for the day because costs are high. They are cutting costs, and they will say, I can come in and work as long as there is a meal for me. It's like a free offer. We are looking for a free offer. But as you know, we should despise the free offer. If you take it, it shouldn't be because the reason for your coming to work. But when you see people seeking free offers, they will pack an extra piece of food to take home, or they will look for a free ride, or they will look for a free outlet to what cuts their costs. Then you know that it's a fragile work. The other one is where people are occupied over trivial things. We are in office and people are very occupied about small, tiny things. Usually they could be discussing things which don't contribute to work productivity. And they are not discussing your brand, they are not discussing your vision, they are discussing an email which was sent to all, or they are discussing things which are of low nature. When we see those signs, we know we are dealing with fragility at the workplace. And then you'll see people very loud when they have made it. Someone will buy a new car, they will post it, clean it, show it, remind everybody that they've arrived, have made it, or somebody will buy a new shoe and walk in and make sure that everybody sees that they bought a new dress or a new shoe. Then it's a fragile work. A key sign of fragility at the workplace is blaming others for our own pain. The reason we are not happy is because of the supervisor. Or we like the manager, but we don't like the boss. Or blaming others for your pain. When they count on a lucky break, they say, if only I can get a chance to be promoted, then we know that that lucky break is attached to fragility, being breakable, weak. Some think I have this mentality of I cannot do it. So can you shift from that department to another? Say, no, that is not my forte. It's not my area. It's not my specialty. I can't handle. And when you see that element of I can't do it, then people don't feel safe. They can't be authentic. At that stage, people are growing and advancing in their careers, but for these, they're stuck. And it's out of those who say, I cannot do it, thinking, where you will find toxic behavior emerging. You might find someone wants to be promoted on merit, but they don't want to take the extra step to demonstrate the merit required for their promotion. And when you see that element of I cannot do it, then we know people are fragile. And the final one is where people fear risk. Usually, when it comes to risk, the best ideas will win. But when you find people afraid of taking risks, I fear to go to the field because I might face rejection and ourselves, someone may not buy. Then we are dealing with a fragile workplace. Because in an anti-fragile workplace, we unpack these elements of fragility and we give people room to make mistakes. We address the complainants. We seek charged offers so that people bring value and see where value is made and money is made and lost. We grow beyond the trivial things. We are quiet when we are achieving. We don't blame others. We face failure squarely and we count on our effort and merit, not just a lucky break. And we have the mentality that we can do it, we can win, we can grow. That is what we need to grow for the culture against the fragile workplace, which we see most often today. Now, anti-fragility comes from the expression, and this is the bamboo forest, taken photograph from a bamboo forest taken near where I stay. The bamboo bends and it's stronger and resists. It's stronger than the oak tree that resists. And this is a Japanese proverb. So when we talk of being anti-fragile, we are thinking of being flexible like the bamboo tree, that we are adaptable, we are malleable, and we are therefore strong. Robust objects are inherently anti-fragile. So when an object is robust, it can move flexibly, it can move in multiple directions, then it won't break. And anti-fragility can be taken from lessons in nature where the bamboo shoot can stay without sprouting for 6 months, and then in 3 weeks, it sprouts for 4 meters. And that is an element of being anti-fragile, that it prepares for the moment and it sprouts and it develops that inherent anti-fragile nature in it, that even as it sprouts, it is flexible to the wind and remains a strong element. And embedding this for our people and in our teams becomes an essential part of our work. So how do we work with an anti-fragile and motivated workforce? It starts by putting anti-fragility at the center. And in anti-fragility, we say, how can we embrace small failures and as vaccines for unpredictability? We don't know, Joy might say, we don't know how much porridge we are going to sell, but we want to go and try out and we might get rejection, but that rejection should not tell us our product is bad per se, but it should align us to our people, to our market. So we begin to say, let's fail as we grow toward the unpredictability we face. Then anti-fragility also requires us to diversify experiences. When we diversify experiences, we are able to win. And when we win, we bring about character and the nature of growth and simplicity at work. The growth and simplicity we are talking about here is one which allows us to grow people, but also to diversify our capabilities. So we are calling on you to be mindful of those. Yes, please.
There's a very nice example of that in the chat section from William.
Sure.
William says his former workplace had an online platform that they used to recognize each other across the entire company. So the recognitions had a clear reason, and whoever got earned some points, which they would redeem for a shopping voucher once you hit the redeemable threshold. So indirectly, they're motivating people to hit those goals, and yeah, that's really a nice growth strategy.
Thank you for that contribution. It does help. So another one is to recognize effort, not just the results. Some people say, no, for us, we are here to say, how many bags have you sold? How many handbags have you sold at Ambrosel? But we are asking, can we look for the effort, not just the results? Because when we want responsive people, we don't say, I don't care how you do it, you just go and sell. So you turn the employee into a hawker. They go hit your target in the first 2 months, but they don't have joy in their job. So we need to recognize the effort they took to say, I like your innovative method to post our bags on your social media handles and to follow through with customers who were interested in buying. I'm impressed by how you engaged our teams, respond, and resulting in improved sales. But telling somebody, I don't care what you do, but bring about the sales is a bit weak. The other one is to make sure at work we have routine for regular physical exercise and self-care so that we cope with stress. And this monster called stress is real. If we don't create opportunities to deal with it, it's going to hamper the motivation we look for at work. The next is to take a deep emotional intelligence, mindfulness, where we say, I am mindful of how we feel, and I'm happy for us to grow or to advance into health break as an example. And when we practice that, it helps us succeed. And the final one there is to take calculated risks, learn from mistakes. So those components, 6 components, help us to embed anti-fragility at the workplace, that we are not easily broken by rumors, by hearsay, and by the views that are not liked or liked at the workplace. But we are part of a team which has a bigger purpose. We are lost in the activities which deliver on our purpose and promise to our customers. And that is about what anti-fragility is. So how do we build it at the workplace? The first element from the acronym WATCH is to watch our words. What do we say in terms of the affirmations, the thoughts, and the human relations with people? The first W is words. So these words make or break the culture. They decide the toxicity or the pleasant atmosphere at the workplace. And words are a double-edged sword. We need to watch them. They are really, 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 really critical. So concerning words, this would be our strapline, that people feel safe when they are treated with trust and respectful words. And that takeaway means that every word we use at the workplace must be intentional and it should be upbuilding. The next one is actions. Many times our muscle responses will respond to what we are going through. People will lose weight, others will lose muscle tone, and others will act in ways where they say, but you should be the one to understand. And people will get the feedback and the vibe from our deeds or action. And we need to watch those deeds or action because very soon it will turn into the thoughts of others and create an atmosphere of toxicity where staff can get depressed, they can get anxious, they can be lunatic, they can have mood swings, they can withdraw from the task which you have hired them to do, and they can turn to experimentation as a method. So let's see what you will do. And those thoughts can catch fire and shape the character. Some would choose to say, let's turn to God. We have given up on our boss. You'll find religious fundamentalism kicking in at the workplace, and their character or their fixed nature is the result of the trauma they have experienced. And we are telling us the last is the habits, the repetitive manners, those decisions which have propelled the behaviors of gloom and doom at the workplace. We need to watch for them because when we watch the words, actions, thoughts, character, and habits at the workplace, then anti-fragility takes root. And it's a task for everybody. We can't say that this is work for the CEO, this is work for the MD, this is work, no, even the cleaner. When they use words which are not okay, reprimand them. When we find that there are thoughts which don't reflect our vision, let's challenge those thoughts. When people act in ways which are unfair, inhuman, we must not say, but that is who they are. No, we should raise our flag and say, but I'm concerned about this. And we'll use that to drive into ways in which we can be more effective with embedding anti-fragility at the workplace. Are there comments or questions?
Not really. We are enjoying, we are learning.
Right. So now when it comes to human beings, and we'll carry on, there are 4 chemicals which we need to awaken, to steer, to upset. These 4 chemicals are within our people, and we need to tap into them. And the first one is a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is basically from reward and motivation. It's the same chemical we get from getting likes on our social media handles, those who are on social media, you know how you're excited? My post has been liked by 200 people. It gives you that rush of dopamine. And the question we should be asking, what new experiences are we creating at work to activate dopamine, to create reward and motivation? What more can we do? You might find that you could set up a poll on social media and members go on social media to vote about something, and then a decision is reached and say, we have so many, therefore so and so takes the day, the reward or recognition issue. Then when we activate dopamine, it's just the first step. The second chemical is oxytocin. And this chemical is within us, and it's usually built in through love and connection. And the acts of kindness are evident at the workplace. And when we have those acts of kindness, we say, okay, what are we doing in terms of being kind and considerate? And what could we do better? Because when you activate the second chemical from human nature, then you'll find teams forming. The toxicity will drop. And it is usually acts of kindness which are reciprocated. It's usually hard to be unkind to somebody who has been kind to you. Some would argue, you can't feed a dog and then it gets satisfied and then bites you. No, dogs are loyal and they don't do that. Feed them and they will take care of you. They will be loyal to you. Acts of kindness. The next one is the chemical called serotonin. It's a mood lifter. It can be lifted using bananas. Bananas contain serotonin. Chocolate contains serotonin. And we can ask, what mood lifters are we using at the workplace? If we are not doing much, what needs to improve? Serotonin is a chemical which helps us feel good. And it's in the body, but we can activate it using bananas and chocolate. And the final one is endorphin. Sometimes our bodies get stressed, our targets are stressful, our work is stressful, but we need physical activities which change our stance. Our stance is, you cocked up and tensed up at work? Are you hell-bent? Is it a do or die? Or do you break away and go and do aerobics as a team? You turn on some music and say, okay, this day, Friday afternoon, we'll do aerobics, refresh and leave the workplace. Or we'll do aerobics midweek, one of the days before closing. We stop work and do aerobics so that the physical activity brings about cohesiveness. It activates endorphins, which address body pain and the stress we go through, and we are more effective as teams and as individuals. So these are the 4 chemicals which can be awakened, which we can take advantage of, which we can use to have our ends, which we can motivate people with. In one workplace, they opened up a program. They call it Zero Masafu. Zero Masafu means zero fats. And the zero fats is to say we are going to do exercise. So they get out and play football. Once a week, they go to the compound and they play football. Pass the ball to each other and they exercise and then they go. Next week, another activity will be out there, either they get tennis rackets. The other activity would be with the ball, they do volleyball. But they're basically saying zero masavu, less fat. And they want to lose weight and go to gyms and do what they have to do. But they use that to bond at the workplace and put work aside. And that number 4, the endorphins, are an important component of human well-being. We need to activate those 4 chemicals. Are there comments or questions? Right. So how do we make recognition?
Question from William.
Sure, William, over to you.
Yes, William is
put
saying.
in the chat
Oh,
section.
sorry,
Yes,
go on.
please. Yes, he had put in the chat section
Kindly
that
read it
acts
to
of
me.
kindness. He says acts of kindness may lead to entanglement. How do we separate remain
Entanglement.
professional? Yes. How do we
Okay,
separate
we need
to remain professional?
Okay, we need to recognize an unspoken truth, William. In every workplace, there is a corporate spouse. For lack of a better expression, not that you are intimate with them, but there's this one person who looks at you and says, your mood is not okay today. Or there's this one person whom you will tell, hey, my car is giving me a headache. Or you will tell, I need to step out of office, but I've not yet informed the manager. There's a corporate spouse. So while many people are trying to draw the line between not getting entangled and actually maintaining a professional life, when it comes to the workplace, there's a myth and a rumor that you should separate the workplace from your home or your family. Yes and no, because when you are at the workplace, you dedicate most of your time there. So between age, say, 20 to age 40, if you are at the workplace and you're spending more than 8 hours at the workplace, because you leave home 5 a.m., you reach work at 7 a.m. as an example, and then you leave work at 6 or 7 p.m. and reach home at 9, you find that you're spending most of your time at the workplace. And to be effective, you're going to build lifelong connections at the workplace. And those lifelong connections, for some people, have turned into corporate dating and entanglements, which has been found to be undesirable. But for many, that has been their support framework. It's the same people who will come to your funerals, the same people who will pass you deals at work, the same people you'll retire with and ask how they are doing, the same people you will team up with and join private businesses when employment has come to an end. So there's a thin line, and while caution must be exercised, we need not to target the same individual to get them to feel that they are an item or that they are available. But an act of kindness could mean opening the door, could mean closing the door, could mean asking how people are doing, could mean being genuinely interested or being present when people are going through difficulty. There's so many acts of kindness, but the ultimate one I would ask is, if you attended a vigil for a workmate who has lost a relative, would that mean that you are available for intimacy or entanglement? Would it send that message? If the answer is no, then do it. So many times people fail to communicate, and then they let the act of kindness be seen to be suggestions for entanglement. So if somebody needs a pen and you have a pen in hand and they say, can I borrow your pen? And you say, sure. When they are done, they hand you your pen and you go. An act of kindness, would that suggest somebody is entangled with you? I'm not too sure. But again, the body language needs to be intentional and the boundaries need to be clear. So it's something we could be cautious about, but there's an inevitable point where you're there. Leonard, your hand is up.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Now, my question was related to, of course, what you are explaining on the issue of act of kindness, and maybe to some extent where we have the male and female characters, you find that some act of kindness can maybe extend to the level of making sexual advances, towards the opposite. And probably in organization where they really stress so much on the issue of sexual harassment, could that also be mistaken as a sexual harassment? Because it is started as a kind of an act of kindness, then depending on the level of connection that this relationship was getting into from the act of kindness, then maybe the opposite sex starts making some sexual advances. By the time you realize, maybe you are being either accused of sexual harassment, or at some point they just keep quiet.
Okay, basically, what I hear from you is that, as the English put it, that a handshake, when a handshake exceeds the elbow, is there to be a handshake. So when we are going for a handshake, we should not let the other handshake exceed the elbow. It means that we have boundaries in the acts of kindness. And these acts of kindness may not just be financial gifts or what. The cue for many acts of kindness is, can I do this in public? And then the other cue would be, do I do this for more than one person? That we could say he's sexually harassing me by handing me lighter workload so that I get favors from him. Do I do this for the same? Can you demonstrate that it's the same for another person, what they're accusing you for? So that is not on a multiple frontier issue, but an act of kindness, as Helen Keller puts it, that even the blind can see. Kindness is so clear cut that even the blind can see. But what I hear from your submission, Leonard, is the manipulative tendency where somebody positions for intimacy or to set up a trap. It's built on a wrong premise. But if you're in a meeting and you're a leader of the team, as a director, you're able to say, let's recognize so and so for what they've done. Caroline, you're saying something? Right. So if we recognize somebody for what they've done, then that act of what they've done is sufficient to carry us through and say, you've been kind, to recognize the person. And it's not something which is done the same way, for the same person, but we are on the lookout for acts of kindness to bring about a culture. And that raises an issue about suspicion, the culture of suspicion at the workplace, where you recognize somebody and somebody feels bad that for me, I was not recognized. It needs to be explicit that the star performer has earned it, and that you are unmistaken with your recognition of that star performance in the stream of time. So that people are lost in achieving and getting recognized rather than the smear campaign or the manipulative act relating to sexual harassment or relating to soiling your reputation. It's something one has to be very intentional and careful about, and how you carry yourself, especially relating to human beings, because the alternative to what you're saying is to maintain arm's length, but yet you need to shake their hand. And you need to connect with people in ways which are genuine, in ways which are unsuspecting, in ways where you can prove beyond reasonable doubt that you had no other more ill-motivated intention. And that is something which is a balancing act for many people. That how do you keep the link with your in-law, and yet they are your in-law? From a traditional point of view, in some cultures, some would struggle with that, others don't. So you have a balancing act, and you have to do it in the cultural context. From even the basic of how long do you look into someone's eyes? How many seconds is culturally acceptable to stare at somebody and look at them? In some, once you exceed 10 seconds, they say you are has exceeded. Would you look at somebody for more than 10 seconds? Others would say it's okay. So it's a cultural context, but there are other techniques, especially when you're dealing with bigger crowds or with videos, where you can have a firm conversation without letting it come off like your interests were beyond what was at work. And that is a thin line which someone must constantly choose to walk, because we are subject to being misinterpreted anyway. I don't know if that answers that for you, Leonard.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much for the explanation.
Sure.
Any
Yes.
Titus, before you go ahead, there is an Philomena was seeking clarification on point 3, good mood.
Right. Serotonin is a chemical within our body. When we eat bananas and chocolate, those two contain mood lifters. And the best context is to give you an example of communities which don't eat bananas and those which eat bananas. So the communities who eat bananas are generally more upbeat. They are less prone to sustained anger and prolonged difference, holding grudges. And those who don't eat bananas tend to hold on, and they can keep a grudge for long. Even when they are fired from the job, those who don't eat bananas find it harder to turn around and deal with the reality. So for you to create mood lifters at the workplace, we need to look into the nutrition and make sure the workplace has a good mood. And that good mood cannot come just from words, as we said, alone, even from what they're having people eat. So having a banana in the morning on our menus helps the teams take on their day with enough upbeat mood, and they're able to put aside their daily burdens, and that mood lifter can carry them into the afternoon, especially when mood is dropping or when they have had setbacks in the course of the day. So bananas are an essential element. Chocolates could also be helpful for that purpose. Philomena, I don't know if I've answered you. Philomena, are you there?
Yes, yes, sir.
Sure.
That was quite clear. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Is there any other comment or question?
No, we can proceed. Thank
Right.
you.
So as we proceed, we're asking, how do we make recognition work? There are frontiers. On one, we're saying celebrate progress, the milestones. And this will help Leonard with his experiences with people. We've hit a milestone. We have sold items 1 to 20, and now we are on the journey to 100. We've hit 20. That is a milestone. So guys, we are doing well. Let's celebrate that we have sold 20 units on our target of 100. That works. That's where the energy, internal energy, is kicked in and says, if we hit 20, we can finish the 100. Number two, which is the leadership issue. It should come from the leadership to reinforce the value, and recognition from the leader comes off where someone says, my boss has noticed my work, my value. And this value must not be put in money terms, must not be put in quantities. It should be put in the net impact to say, because of your good work, we are able to secure our customers' interest. The value they bring is not quantifiable, and leaders need to do that. On impact, we need to highlight how their work benefits the team. Instead, Eugene, your work on the platform has enabled us go digital. Are those my words, Eugene?
No.
Eugene, did you hear those words today?
Yes.
So you are seeing how your work has benefited the team. Impact. We need to create rituals. The win of the month. So someone cannot harass. Say you are sexually harassing or advancing when you're saying, no, the members have voted and you are the winner of the month. You can't be sexually harassing the person. It's a ritual. And this keeps on happening. That this is the winner of the month or the staff of the month. On interaction, let the team react and comment. Say, so and so has been recognized for their effort on the platform. The team, what do you have to say? They will clap. Let them comment. You say, sincerely, Eugene has put his time. This platform has grown from this to the other. Let them react and comment so that you, the supervisor, you, the leader, are not seen to be back-end channeling the vibe that, okay, we have a connection. And on final one, learning. We need to celebrate the learning, show that growth has happened. We are not just looking for perfection. And when we work with these elements of human nature, we'll have an engaged staff at work. The engaged staff will be saying, what is the next milestone? Has the leader seen me? Is my work impactful? If you just told the askari that your work is so important that without what you do, they are not safe. Is it a ritual that last month it was somebody at the reception, this month it is me at the gate? Is it that the team can react and say, guys, we want to inform you, and people are saying, sincerely, the system works. There was no rigging. And then can we celebrate learning? End of the year, we say, okay, guys, we want to sit back and say, how have we grown this year? And then we go back to celebrating progress. So when we make recognition work, we take the whole cycle. And that is an essential part of our work. Now, we raise the other question, and maybe before I come to this, I'll take some questions or comments or experiences. Is there anything you've experienced which you like to share on engaging your teams? Roy, do you like to share something on engaging your teams? How do we keep people engaged? How is it going for you? What is your story? Yes, please.
You know that I am in class. So
of course. But your experience is very important. We are all in class.
So I am learning a couple of things.
Yes.
Obviously, there are things we do, and realizing, these are some of the attempts towards. There are those that I'm also getting to know that they make sense. And yes, there is always room for improvement. So it's Kaizen. And that's why I appreciate the session because there's a lot of eye-opening insights that I am learning from this. Thank you.
Sure. Would you like to share with us one attempt you had which failed? That you were trying to engage people at work and it just didn't work? Because this is the reality. As you put it, we are learning. But just share with us one where you say, okay, I thought I had this fellow engaged, then they were disengaged.
All right.
Thanks. Sorry to put you on the spotlight.
Okay, there is a scenario where we were doing an activity, I think in one of the regions in the country, and one of our team had really encouraged us to take it in that region because also that was their region, home region, which he claimed to be very familiar and would be able to pull it off very easily. He was so confident and what have you. So we decided, let's support and make it happen. But based on the timeline and the milestones that we set, so it started very actively with the support, encouragement, and everything, putting the strategies together. But as we kept on following up on the milestones and targets, we actually realized that should I say, the energy had gone down, and it's like we're not seeing the results, and it was like going to flop the program that we were setting up. So we had, fortunately, we realized it about a week or so prior. So we had to inculcate deeper efforts, because in this particular case, we were relying on him based on his knowledge base, and he had really shown that he understood. But the reality, or how we were evaluating the results, we actually realized that the results were not actually coming out, and he looked like either disengaged or discouraged, but couldn't communicate what challenges. So we had to sort of inculcate more strategies to get the results. I don't know if this comes out right.
Thank you. It does. There's a comment there from Barbara. Some leaders think that team engagement is doing a favor to the team. It's not a priority to them. And says, from personal experience, team engagement creates psychological safety and productivity. And that is so true. Truer words couldn't be said. You know, some would argue, some leaders say, teamwork is for the team's health. No, it's for your productive honor. So sure, let's invest in creating teams to the extent that be a stickler for those who are playing against the team role. You are better firing off non-team player than sustaining a high performer who is a non-team player. It's more productive to have lower production but a cohesive team than to have a high performer who breaks the team. It's a choice we often face. Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions? Right, the next slide is a very interesting one. How do we create a culture for retention at the workplace? And I would need to help you see this from the choices we have at work and who we have. So the culture at the workplace is usually defined by whether we are proactive or reactive as leaders, or whether we are indifferent to people or concerned for people, other axes. So in leader number one, if you are directive and indifferent, meaning that you don't care about people, but you tell them what to do, words from one's mouth would be, I don't care how you do this, but you have to do it. Or our purpose is the numbers. Without the numbers, don't tell me anything. If we are directive and indifferent, we exhibit behaviors which can be grouped as red one behaviors. We are warning people and we are driving the agenda. So we are red in our behavior. And the net impact of that on the workplace is that people will give you what you want in the short run. So we shall get our yield, our results. If we are selling our creations, Ambroseli, they will sell bags. In the first 6 months, you'll have high sales. But when you quietly ask them, do you like the team leader? They say, no, Akelo is a pain, but she's causing sales. So that behavior can be red one behavior. Good for business in the short run, but it will break the business in the long run. The next behaviors or culture component I wanted to describe are number two, where you find people who don't care about people, the team. And when things go wrong, they blame the team. They are reactive. The behavior is to blame. The key behavior of these passive indifferent people are there is no target, there is no focus, they work. But when things go wrong, they say, but you guys, I hired you to raise funds. I hired you to make sales. What's happening? There's no support, there's nothing. So usually these are identified and they're the first ones for us to manage out. That these people who don't care about people and they have no results should go. But does it take away the problem? The amber two behaviors, which I've just described, of passive and different behavior, don't take away the problem. Usually the problem compounds and is hidden in the next kind of people. The third or green behavior, which we want to describe next, are the passive concern, where they tell you when things go wrong, they say, that's not my department, that's not my problem, that's not my forte, that's not my area. For me, I'm hired to do this. But they know your kid's birthday. They are concerned about your kid's birthday. They are very nice people to be around. But when you ask, what was your target and how far? They say, we are working on it. But as you can see, we have no power. So we can't do much about it. Or we went to the field and it rained. They will blame the rain for their lack of achievement. But they are very nice people. If each time you want to fire them, you say, but these people are good with people. They attended events. They even came for my child's funeral. So when we had the burial, they came. They stood by me. And the problem won't go away. But today, we're trying to describe culture with blue 4 behavior, where we combine directive and concerned behavior. Whether we are praising people or allocating roles, if you're a manager or a leader, you tell people what to do. Say, our purpose is to recognize growth. I'm concerned about slow growth or limited effort to show growth. You're demonstrating blue 4 behavior. It's a combination of focus or direction or being proactive. That we are into the first quarter of the year. By now, we should have had these sales. I'm concerned about that. What actions are going to follow? So that people follow with specific set of actions to deliver on the promises. And when we do that and demonstrate blue 4 behavior, then we are creating a culture for retention. But there's a catch to what I've just said, and this is a reversal of sorts. That if you are subordinate, the juniors are amber 3s, and you are a red 1, I'll say that again. Your subordinate is a 3 and you're a red 1. The blind spot is that they will see you as a blue 4. Can I say that again? So Titus is a red 1, as an example. Subordinates, amber 3s. They will say he's a good leader because he tells us what to do. He's everything we are not. So he's a blue 4. But if you're a blue 4 behavior and your subordinate is an amber 2, they will say that was the best manager because they show us what to do. And they will see it as bad because they will rank you to be a red one person. So the blind spots with this effort are to say that subordinates sometimes tend to drive the culture, which we are trying to build at the workplace. That even when the leaders think they're in charge, they're like a man in a home who says, I'm the head of the home. Then baby keeps you sleepless all night. And you ask, I thought I'm the head of this home, but the baby kept you awake. Why didn't you sleep if you are the head? So we face this scenario where the culture can be driven by the toxic behaviors of the subordinates. And our role as business owners, leaders in our own right, is to call out these fellows. To say, I'm concerned that you are raising your voice to colleagues. I'm concerned that we are lagging our key result area. I'm concerned that your use of language does not project our values. I'm concerned that, and those concerns need to be raised by those in charge. Because when we are quiet, it is not our silence which delivers, our words which deliver, it's our silence or lack of. And then we create the culture for the workplace we desire, we deserve. Are there questions or comments on that? Do I need to clarify anything?
There is one in the chat section. Joy,
Sure.
Joy says she's a red one.
I missed that. Joy said she's a...
How can she manage? In the chat section,
Oh.
Joy says she's a red one. How can she manage?
Okay.
Joy,
By being aware,
like to speak about that?
Titus, maybe I also wanted to, it was a question, but since it has come also from Joy, I have seen scenarios, for example, where you find in an organization where the subordinates are unskilled, like in an unskilled environment where there is a lot of unskilled labor force, you'll find the directive indifferent seems to work when it is sort of directive and concerned, it seems not to augur well on the performance side. Then when it is in a knowledge kind of setting, sort of directive concern number 4 seems to work better. I don't know. I just thought I've seen it sort of in different environments where if it's sort of in a different format, I think, for example, we receive a lot of goods from Chinese and you'll find their maker spaces. Chances are you'll find it's directive and indifferent in those mass production sites simply because it's they're looking at target productivity. It is, I don't know if that is also something you agree. I'm just trying to interpret this from a scenario perspective. Thank you.
Okay, the culture you've just described, where someone might say, for us, we are in robotic or low end, low, high activity, low education zone. The moment we are directive and indifferent, the horizon for our business is usually closer. Automation is coming for that space. So if we say it's all about people, and the Chinese think, I don't care, I will tell people what to do and I don't care. That's your problem. Automation is going to come and take that job. So the jobs which will survive, or the industries which will survive, must have a personal touch. And the concern for people starts from even the design. How is the workspace designed? How does the workspace address differences? How does it deal with, even a dog would know when its master is kind. So for us to say, okay, these are low educated, they know when somebody is being nice. They know when they are there for survival. They can even be casual and say, I am making food for today and tomorrow I can walk and go. And if the boss takes that same posture, then that industry or that role is replaceable by automation. Very soon, they will run out of people, or people will regroup on social media and be able to point fingers. Like right now, one of the groups I'm on have pointed fingers that there are 1,000 on the group and nobody will speak nice about China forest called the China Forest Company because of how they've treated people. So before they know it, they are advertising and nobody is responding, and people know. So they go and regroup in another arena and they badmouth you, and the cost of bad press is so annoying. You can't get out of it when 50 people say, but that place is this, and then they name specifics and say so and so does this. And then they tell you you're not allowed to come with the phone and you're treated like an illiterate. And then someone will say, but you work up to late, up to 11 in the night, and it's supposed to be the norm. You're not supposed to take a break even to eat. So it comes off badly with the directive indifferent. And what we are proposing to whoever is aware that they tend to be directive indifferent, it's easy to switch and share the context with being concerned for people. You might find that empathy. Remember what we started our session with, that kind words are like the seats of an airplane. You'll still get to your destination without them, but the journey is a whole lot more comfortable with them. So you might find your Joy is saying that they're directive and indifferent. Just add kind words to it and leave the direction to it and see the change. They will say, no, the manager has changed. She has now changed. She has reformed. And they will even want to take credit and say it's because of us. She couldn't manage us. But you're winning when you're concerned and directed. You win every day and any day. Because flexibility, concern for human beings is the root of human motivation. The rules on conditioning, the studies on what cannot allow us to say that these are low-end people, treat them like trash. They will get the message, because if you look at somebody and you don't like them, they also get that they are not liked. And we face that with our teams. You need to be the leader for all. That leadership means that you need to gain their liking or consent or agreement. I hope I've answered the question.
Philomena, I don't know if you'd like to unmute. I feel like your case is special to you, because she has said that thank you, Mr. Titus, for these insights, but honestly, sometimes we are faced with difficult employees that force us to be in red 1. How do we deal with such? I don't know if you can share your background on this so that maybe Mr. Titus can get a bit.
Sure. Philomena, over to you. Just provide additional clarity and we should be good.
Yes, thank you very much for that opportunity. Well, sometimes, you know, like in workplace, there are different people you encounter. So in a position of leadership, you are supposed to be lenient. But again, there is being lenient with someone. You tell them, you'll be directive, you tell them what to do, and you also get concerned why that is not done. But then there is a certain kind of look or
We missed that.
Sozi, could you please mute Francis? Please help me mute Francis. Francis, if you can hear us, please mute.
All right, let me proceed to claim the host from Titus.
Are you able to mute Francis?
Do I mute him?
Yes, please.
Let me look out. I'm just looking for him, then I mute him. Don't see Francis on my list. Still there?
I think it's muted now.
Okay.
Philomena, you can proceed. Just repeat because we were interrupted.
Okay, I was saying you are in blue 4 you give the directive and your concern, but then the recipient of the directive doesn't really show any interest, or is not moved, is not giving you that energy. I don't know how you can really deal with such a character. Because you have given the directive, you're concerned, why is this not being done? You come back, maybe even talk back to you, but others still just look at you. And then maybe because you don't want to lash out at them, you move out. And then when you go back to check whether the work has been done, still there is no any work done. So what do you do?
Okay. What I hear is that you face a challenge with placing your choices between the responses, the reaction and the response of others. For instance, you feel compelled to take action, but you're being lenient. But what I also understand is the representation of blue for behavior does not mean lenient. You can be very decisive, but your actions are not as lenient. So the key thing is to say, how will I maintain my choice, not be a victim of them to drive me? Because people have mastered ways of driving your agenda. And how they drive your agenda is they drive you to act in ways which are, let's call it, not professional or not acceptable. When they do that, you act out of impulse. So the idea is, how do you steal back your choice? When you're under pressure to take actions which they don't expect, then you should be concerned. And even when you fire somebody, it is out of concern for them that you're doing them a favor by terminating their service. And when it gets to that, and you are having a separation conversation, you should be able to say, my effort to help you stay has been this, but we've got to the point where I need to let you go. You're still blue for, but you're not indifferent and saying, I don't care how your children are going to survive. No, you say, I'm concerned about the deliverables or the failure to deliver, and we need to let you go. And the decision has been reached. You're still in blue for behavior, but you're not being driven by the moods and actions of the typical red one. You're still in blue for. So a high level blue for, when you're on the borderline at the top, they are very directive. You're seen sometimes, and it could be a case where you're seen sometimes to be indifferent, yet you're actually taking the high level decision which work for you. So the call on you is just to be aware that there are these 4 types. You have the typical house help who are very, very good at manipulation, the green 3. You have the amber 2s who can fire and you think business continues. You have the red ones who have brought you for a quick win. But what we're calling on us is to shift all our efforts to being a blue 4, no matter the circumstance. Concern and direction. Concern and direction. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And that should be our trap line. I hope I've answered your concern. Philomena, does that answer it for you?
Yeah, I have tried to understand that concept.
Right. For us to be effective, we need to praise people and be open to bold transformational ideas for doing that. We also need to adopt inclusive technologies for identifying performance. If it is clocking at our entrances, if it is social media, WhatsApp groups where people have been given tasks and they're delivering, let's adopt those technologies. Then we need to access learning and development. You see opportunities like this might be needed for your team. And say, by the way, this is the culture we desire. When they go into red, they even know that, by the way, that's not what we hope. Then we need to create safe spaces, where you hold somebody accountable, you walk outdoors or walk to the corridor with them and have a very crucial conversation. I'm concerned about this and I'm watching you. So there's a safe space. And when that safe space is made use of, you're able to promote that individual's own initiative. And that's the kind of praise which will inspire and retain people. So where do we go from here? Number 1, we are saying we need to identify and note opportunities to reward individuals and teams. So How do we do that? We develop an early notification system for performance excellence and yield. Number two, we need to self-assess and gather evidence. Here means we combine the skill set, tool set, and mindsets, which we need to be rewarded and recognized. There are some people who have the right mindset, wrong skill set. Others have the right tool set, wrong mindset. We need to combine the three and gather evidence, the workplace. Number three, we need to adopt the methods and approaches and tools for reward and recognition, which we have discussed today. And you make a business case and say, we are putting 1 million in rewarding staff. Let's see who is going for it. Listen in for messages that spin off. There are some demons which they will say, you're giving me a laptop to do your work, or you're buying me a smartphone, but I use it to do your work, so it is not a reward. Those are demons. Don't brush them off. Face them up straight. You might find you're buying a phone for somebody who needs that, and it would be cheaper for you. They will point you to what they want. Then make motivation a top priority. Account for every detail between your growth journey and for the team's journey, because when you do, then you will win in the workplace, win in life, regardless of what we say. If those clues cannot be the secrets, then what else? Thank you. I'm happy to deal with questions, comments, discussions, and lead this to finality.
Wow. Thank you so much. This was very, very insightful. Members, the floor is open for questions, clarifications, any challenges you're facing in this area. Mr. Titus is the right person to guide you. So please feel free. Just raise your hand if you have a question or a challenge that you're facing. Let us help you through this. Do we have any questions? I'm trying to look and see if there's a hand up.
Yes, I have a
question.
question.
Good time for those who haven't. Yes, sure.
This is Andrew. Thank you, Mr. Titus, for the presentation. Yes, so for me, I just want to bring out something. I've ever had this experience before as a team leader of some of the people that I was leading. But sometimes you want to bring these people closer to you. You want to find a way of motivating them so they can be able to bring the results that you want. But these people are scared. Every time they see you, like you talk to them, they start drawing away from you. So yet for you, like according to you, feel like you want these people to be closer to you. You're doing everything like you explain to them each and everything which is happening. But for them, they tend to get away from you, repel from you. So how could you address that?
Okay. I'll take another question, then come to that.
All right. Thank you, Susie, for that question. Do we have another question? Members, feel free. This is a safe space. Barbara, Francis, Doris, thanks for joining us. Jessica, Joy, Isaac, Leonard, Philomena, Rita. Feel free to ask away. Do we have a question? All right.
Right. While that
answer, Susie, as you wait.
Okay, Andrew. When it comes to low trust relationships or engagement, when you sense low trust, then you need to deal with the foundation, because in the speed of trust, you are dealing with suspicion, you are dealing with lack of surety, and you need to address that from a place of how do you build or rebuild trust before you engage with people. So your experience points to the need to go back to the foundation, building trust. And trust is eroded in instance, but it's built over time. So it must be work in progress until people see and are assured and are safe and are happy that, okay, this is a trust relationship. They will not open up, but you have to win them. And in winning people, they need to feel that you see things from where they see and that you have not come to spy on them or to impose your views on them. And when they feel that way, then the buy-in is quicker, easier. But it must be sustained over time. If somebody has badmouthed you, then you need to prove over time that I am not who they said I was. And you've been consistent. And then you'll emerge as the victor in this. But it's a whole issue about low trust engagement, which you need to build by having crucial conversations, by being consistent, by being present, by sustaining your goodwill and good intentions toward others. Andrew, I hope that answers it for you.
Yes, you answered it very well.
Sure.
Thank you for that. Members, Leonard has a hand up. Please proceed. Mr. Leonard Nyongesa. Please unmute and proceed to ask your question.
Okay, sorry for that. Mine, it's not really a question, but just a comment to Titus. Thank you so much for the good presentation that you have made. Actually, it has come in handy and timely. It might not really matter how many, participants we have had, but it is the impact that this presentation is going to cause to the number of people that has attended today. Just to give an example, like me, I am recently appointed as the managing director for a certain company in Uganda. I'm like 2 weeks old. A company that it doesn't have like any human resource management structure, but managing a team of more than 30 people.
Yeah.
So I feel that this impact is going to be like a trickle down effect to so many people.
Thank you for the appreciation, and we look forward to seeing and hearing you navigate the terrain, cultural context, which is a bit different. In Uganda, we tend to have more passive and less aggressive behaviors than across the border. So you look out for those clues. You look out for those clues, but you should navigate. It's a very interesting experience you'll have, and congrats on your appointment.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, I'll join Titus to congratulate you too on your appointment. Congratulations. And I wish Titus would expound on it, because it's a silent thing that happens in Uganda, that passive thing. And in Kenya, people are very direct, so it will be quite a shift for you. But you should look out for those signs and learn to read through them, and you will navigate very well. Do we have a question? Barbara says every leader needs this knowledge. Thank you, Titus, for sharing. Hilda is congratulating Leonard. All right, thank you.
I have another question here.
Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. Titus.
Yes.
So how could you sometimes balance kindness? Because sometimes when you tend to be very kind to people, maybe to the subordinates that you're leading, they tend to take it for granted. They say sometimes they say, we know that guy, that guy will be kind. They just do something anyhow because they are taking your kindness for granted every time you do this. And how do you balance that to ensure that you bring the results and then everything is okay? You're kind, somehow kind, but another way, like, I don't know how I can explain, but how do you balance that?
I think it is about managing commitments and managing consequences. So when you manage commitments, you set agreement. We call the team and say, guys, this is what we want to achieve. How are you aligned to this? And then they buy in and say, okay, I'll do this, I'll do the other, and do the other. Then you follow through for the delivery. Now, when there's no delivery, you do consequence management. Consequence management is you deliver the consequences of non-achievement to those who have not achieved, and the rewards and recognition we've talked about today for those who have achieved. So for the leader, it needs you not to be just the judge and the hangman, but you need to navigate both roles. That you are judging performance, you're judging low delivery or low commitment, but you're also delivering the consequences if somebody has to sign an allowance because of excellent performance, sign and make noise about it and say so and so has got more because they did more. And be quiet on the consequence for those who have not got reward for it. But there are so many techniques which would fit in that domain of manage commitment, manage consequence. The commitments are, we agreed to do this, let's get it done. Then the consequence is that, okay, we didn't meet our obligations. What are we missing or what are we getting? The stick and carrot might kick in and support you here. We say, okay, let's take away the reward and you deal with the pain of not doing what we said you should.
Well answered.
All right.
Now, yeah, another suggestion Joy has made is asking, is it okay to recognize intermittently so people don't take it for granted? I think recognition should be tagged to issues which are discernible, and there are many forms of recognition. You could capture it and tell the person at the personal level, which we talked about today. You could wait at the meeting and mention it. You could ask people to clap and recognize. You could have a gift or a token. You could sustain it into reward systems, but you need a variety so that it's not seen that, okay, when you do this, you get the other directly. It needs to grow. It needs to change and grow over time. That effort is the issue you're actually rewarding and growing people, not the fixed-mindedness which results when we are not rewarding effort. Yeah, so ideally we should be saying, let's reward effort and let's recognize effort, and let's not be intermittent, let's be frequent. Whenever it is there, thank people, identify sparks of excellence, so people begin to look for that and it will change the atmosphere. I hope that answers it for you, Joe.
Joy, I hope you heard from Titus. Yes, let's have a variety so that people are not fixated on the monetary bit. This reminds me one time during a training where we took a photo of the first person who entered, like who kept time, and posted on the training group, and she was very happy and it kind of motivated the rest to keep time. So not everything should be monetary. Like Titus has said, can be clapping hands, can be posting the person's photo if they're smart, if they've kept time. Small things that really just go a long way to motivate people. Do we have another question? I do not see a hand up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Eugene to take us through the business manager, which has a very unique component that addresses today's topic. Eugene, you're most welcome to share with us briefly.
Okay, thank you very much, Gloria. Good morning, everyone. Yes, is it still morning? Yes, it is. Yes, so thank you for attending the session. Personally, I've also been taking notes. I've really enjoyed it. I think every time I meet Titus, I have to have a pen and paper because I'm going to learn something or two. So today I'm going to be taking you through the Imuka Business Manager. So I believe all of us are involved in business in one way or another. So if you run a business, you already know that keeping track of your income, your expenses, and your employees can be a nightmare. So it's a really crucial thing to do, but we end up doing it. Maybe we start off with physical ledger books, then we go into Excel. And before you know it, you're in a lot of confusion and disorganization. So maybe when the taxman visits, you don't know where to start from. So as Imuka Access, we found that this was a prevalent issue with our entrepreneurs, and we decided to come up with the Imuka Business Manager to basically rectify this issue. So let me just share my screen. Right, so I believe you can see my screen. All right, so the Business Manager, first of all, is affordable and it's easy to use. So you don't have to have a deep accounting background to use it. We did this so that it's easy to use for anyone who is transitioning and trying to digitize their business. So as Gloria mentioned, we're in a digital economy. So everything that we do at least needs to be digitized in one way or another. The advantages that offers is you can back up your data. You always have your data available from any device, anywhere. And so those are some of the things we're trying to solve with the Imuka Business Manager. So as you can see straight from the business manager, when you log in, this is your dashboard and you see your business at a glance, right? And the first section I'm going to take you through is actually our HR management section. Today is a special day. That's the topic. So why not start with that section? So you'll notice that some of the issues you face in your HR departments, number one could be clarity on your employees' departments. So for example, I work in IT. Maybe another person can be working in business development. So when you list out your employees and they ask you, okay, which department is he in? You might not know which specific one. So in our system, you can enter your employees and you can also enter the departments for those employees so that you can organize them and cluster them according to departments. So this is the department section. This is what it looks like. As you can see here, I only have 3 departments for now, just for showing purposes. And then another thing or 2 other problems that we face. Number one is tracking attendance for our employees. When they have come to work, you know that most productivity comes when you keep your time scheduled from morning to evening. So you know that from 8 to 5, I'm going to be doing this, this, and this. So you can track the times employees have come in and the times they have come out as an HR. And another issue that we face is tracking the payroll for our employees. That includes the bank account payday reaches, and you're like, oh, what's Eugene's bank account? Which bank am I supposed to pay to? What am I supposed to take into considerations while handling that? So that's another section we have. So as you can see, when you input your employees, you put details like their names, their phone numbers, their departments, and their address. And then in the attendance section, the HR can come and log attendances for when the employees have come to work. So when you log an attendance, it automatically changes the status. If they have come late, it will show late. And if they have come early, it will show present. Then in the salary section, you can manage your payroll easily. You put in the employee, the department they work for, how much you'll be paying them, and details on their account, like the bank name, the account number, and all that. So that when payday comes, you have all that information at a glance and it's easy to access. You can also include notes. So for example, maybe a consultant needs to be paid on the 2nd or 3rd day of the month. So that is something you can also put in this HR management section. So some of the other 2 features of the business manager that I mentioned were that you can easily track your sales and manage your expenses, because sales and expenses are the key drivers of a business. And so here you can see we already have the sales and the purchases section. So I'll start with the sales section. In the sales section, you can manage your customers, your products and services. You can send estimates, which are sort of like an estimated amount someone is going to pay for something they want from you. And when you send an estimate to a customer, you can convert it to an invoice when they are interested, or you can change the amount for that estimate. So for example, I come to you, I ask you, how much would this service be? Maybe you give me a quote and I wouldn't be happy with that. You can always go ahead, change that. And then when I'm ready to go ahead with it, you can change it into an invoice. And you can also set up recurring invoices. So for example, I'll use that as an example. This business manager is a subscription-based tool. So for example, let's say you're paying monthly or annually, we shall need to send you invoices monthly or manually. So as a business, you can also track your recurring invoices from here. Maybe you have an invoice that you'll need to send in every 2nd week of the month. You can set that up under your recurring invoices. So from the sales section, maybe what I can show you is how easy it is to create an invoice, because for example, personally, I've created invoices with Canva and it's a time-consuming effort. It can take you like 10, 20 minutes. But here, within 30 seconds, you can even tell me, I'm going to have created my first invoice. So to create an invoice, you just tap create an invoice, select the customer you're creating it for, put in the number, when it's due, put in the product. And another key feature is you see the product numbers here. When you put in, for example, 1 as the quantity for the desk lamp, the next time I'm creating an invoice, the desk lamp will show that it only has 4 items in stock because 1 has been taken in my previous invoice. So that's also an inventory feature. And then when you save and continue, and you approve your invoice, you can even send someone the notification that you've created an invoice straight from the system. So I can send them an email and I can send myself a copy too. And then when I'm paid for the invoice, recording a payment is as easy as tapping record a payment, put in the amount, and you're finished. If you need to convert it to a recurring invoice, for more options, you can convert it to recurring here. And in case you want to have the invoices stored maybe in files and you need the physical documents, you can export them and download them as PDFs too. So that's the sales section. The sales section is what is going to allow you to track how money is coming into your business. Then in the purchases section, this is what's going to track what you're spending on as a business. So for example, you have your bills here. You can set up a bill for any of the vendors you have. Let's say you need this specific raw material every beginning of the month for production purposes. So you can choose a vendor here, or if you don't have them, you can add them straight from the creation of the bill. So for example, I've chosen that. Then when you add an item, you can choose the item you're going to add. And you can save the bill. So as you can see, I've created a bill in about 10-15 seconds. So the tool makes work a whole lot easier rather than doing manual entry in Excel or in physical ledger books. And when you finish inputting your data, another nice thing that you will find is that you have your reports. So for example, you can come and see your profit and loss report. You can track which customer has given you the most money, which customer is buying the most from you. Maybe at the end of the year, you want to recognize them. You can get their details here. And then you can see which vendor you're spending on the most. Perhaps you want to request for a discount. So that would be a valuable insight. And in the reports, you have flexibility between choosing paid and unpaid invoices, only paid. You can choose the date to start from in the report. You can export the report as a PDF. And in the general reports, you can even go ahead and export those as Excel files. So the tool is comprehensive enough for someone who is starting to do digitization of their financial systems, maybe. Let me put it that way. And as the features I've shown you, there are more features that I'm not going to get into because of time. But another offer that we have currently running is that for a full year, if you pay 100,000 shillings only, we shall onboard you. And what an onboarding session looks like is we take you through the tool in detail as a business, and then we'll help you set up. So that includes things like importing your products and services, your customers, and then showing you how to send an invoice, showing you how to create a bill, just that you're set up to start using that tool effectively. And then that also comes with your annual subscription. So if you pay today, you'll pay again next year today. And after that, we shall start charging you the normal annual fees. So yeah, that's the Business Manager in a nutshell. As you continue to use it, you'll see new features coming in with time. And there's also a small plus here I'd forgotten to show you. So this allows you to do everything you need to do just from a glance here. Thank you. So in case you're interested in joining it, please just drop interested in the group and we shall be reaching out to you. And if you have any questions that you would want to ask, you can go ahead and ask them here and now.
All right, Eugene. The first question is, thank you for the presentation. You have talked about the annual subscription. How much is it?
Okay, so as I had said, currently we have an offer running where the annual subscription is going to be 100,000 shillings, and that's about $25. That is inclusive of an onboarding session where we help your business get up to date with the tool and you start using it. We shall also be able to support you while you're having issues. And after the year is finished, subscription is 200,000 Ugandan shillings, or about $50.
That is not it.
I think there are some messages in the chat section. Joy says, is it possible to access a trial version for purposes of learning how to use the app?
Oh yes, Joy, that is possible. If you sign up today, you get 14 days as a free trial with full access to the tool so that you can start using it and see if it's a viable solution for you. And after the 14 days, you can choose to take on the annual subscription or the monthly, whichever one you're comfortable with.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. We have Leonard. Leonard is saying, let's get in touch and get to know it more. Leonard has shared his number. Eugene, kindly take note of his number. Philomena, yes, it is 100,000 per year for the year. That's why Eugene said you will pay again this day next year. So it's annual. It's a discount that's running. It's annual 100,000. Eugene, have I gotten that right?
Yes, yes. So that's the current offer, 100,000 for the full year.
Yeah. So when you pay 100,000, the first 14 days are free, and Eugene and his team will be onboarding you and taking you through all the details. He couldn't go through all of them just because of time, but it's really inclusive and very good for businesses, SMEs. And like I said, we are going in a digital era, so let's really try to automate and digitize these things that are repetitive tasks that take away a lot of our time and productivity so that we can focus on bigger goals. UGX, yes, UGX, Philomena. 100,000 Uganda shillings. If you want dollars, you can also talk dollars, but yes, we want to keep it UGX so that it is very easy for our entrepreneurs. Yes. Do we have any question? Do we have any key takeaways from today's session? If maybe we could all just share one key takeaway from what Titus has shared with us today, it would be awesome. Just one key takeaway from everyone would be awesome. Barbara, we haven't heard from you. What is your key takeaway for today? I'll just go through the list and yes.
Excuse me, Gloria. I
Yes,
just have
please.
a question for Eugene or anyone that can help. So with that tool, can we have a column or a tool that records maybe orders received? Thank you.
Eugene,
Okay.
did you get it?
Yes, I got that question. Yes, so to track orders received, you can still track those as invoices, and you can specify those to specific customers. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Though I was literally wondering if there is a specific, like how you put it out, HR manual, or sorry, not manual, but rather the HR business things, and then the sales part and all that. So I was wondering if literally we have something like that to only record orders from customers.
Ah, okay. I understand your question now. So currently, it's not specifically orders. It will just mainly be the invoice, but that's a feature we could add in the future. So we could log it as a feature request, and we shall be adding it.
Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you so much. Yes, Rita, your hand is up. Please unmute.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Gloria, for such an insightful session. I have one question about the platform. Does it also track the finances? Like, that is one. Does it track the finances that is at cash at hand, cash at bank, and also mobile money? That is just one question. And also, for businesses that have branches, so mine has branches, 2 branches, and one challenge that I've been facing lately is carrying the stock. So I don't know if that application can also help me with knowing what is at store A and also at store B. So yes, that is one of my questions. But otherwise, thank you so much for the session.
You are welcome, Eugene. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question, Rita. Those are really good questions. So for the first question, you say, does it track finances like the cash in bank and cash at hand? No. The way it tracks the finances coming in and going out is from your invoices being created and your estimates, and from your expenses. The reason why we didn't include some of the other features is because they are more technical and usually need a more someone with a better accounting background. So for the average entrepreneur, invoices and estimates would be sufficient. And that's where the ease of use comes in. Then for your second question, helping the tool helping to know the stock at each branch. So what you can do for the branches is the tool allows you to register more than one business. So you can register one business in branch Kampala and maybe another in branch Mbeera. And then using the inventory management feature, you will be able to know what specific product and service is available at which branch. So yes, that is available in that manner. I hope I've answered your questions correctly.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Eugene. Members, feel free to reach out. We have a WhatsApp group to connect. It's called Connect to Business Opportunity, where we share a lot more. Please feel free to join in. Eugene is accessible. All of us are accessible, and we'll be ready to attend to anything that you're struggling with that's in business related. Yes. So feel free to click on that link that has been shared and join the WhatsApp group. If you would like to get onto the business manager, Eugene is on the group and he will attend to you accordingly. Thank you so much for creating time. Thank you so much for staying up to the end of this session. A big thank you to our guest speaker, Mr. Titus Ochieng. This was very insightful. We have all learned a thing or two, and we are so grateful to you for sharing with us so freely, so openly from your wealth of experience. Thank you guys for being here. Till next time. God bless you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.